recording again. I'll share my screen. Okay, so I was saying before we cut off that there are two files now in my folder. I have the new file I created, the 3.py. I have the old file which I've added to JIT. So JIT is noticing it was modified. The 3 is on track, is new. When you do your JIT status, let me clear my terminal again and do JIT status. To check what is the status of JIT. So you find out that it is realizing that one file is modified and one file is on track. Now, I want to add both files. Two ways you could do it. You could do JIT add, and then you put the 3.py. So that's the file name, and hit enter, it will add. Or you just do JIT add, like I said before, dot. Once you do dot, it will add all the existing changes. So it's going to add the modification as well as the new file we created. So I hit JIT add. If you observe, when I do that, that file is no longer on track. It's now added, right? But the modification is still there. And you do your JIT status to see. So you watch now, it has taken note of the new file and also the modification. Then the next thing after adding it is to commit. And then go to JIT, commit again. So each time now you do something new, you do a commit. For instance, if I'm solving chapter 1, after I do the solution to number 1, I can choose to do a commit and put a message, solution to chapter 1, number 1. I commit it. Okay. So if somebody is doing like that now, there are 9 exercises in chapter 1. So before you finish solving it, you have 9 commits you've done into your repository. So I commit now and say modification, modify testing .py and added the 3.py. I put it in quotation mark like a Python string and hit enter. Okay, so I've done that commit. I'm seeing an error. Let me see it again. Why? Okay, there's an error, right? When I try to do the commit. Let me ask you that a question. Did anybody notice why there's an error here? Can anybody see? Are you seeing it very well?
I can see it.
Yep, but it's a little bit tiny.
But did anybody notice why the error came? Someone typed to me. Let me see what the person said. And good news, tell me why the error came. Good news said yes in a chat. So let me see if he noticed it. When I was doing the commit message, I made an error. So if you observed, it did not commit, rather threw up an error. Okay, I don't know why good news is taking time, but let me just go ahead. So the error is that I missed -m in my commit message. If you look at my commits, there is no -m. I just did JIT commit and then I typed the message, but no -m, right? So it threw up an error. Now I use my up arrow, go back to that message instead of typing everything again and include -m, right? And I hit enter. The commit has gone now. Again, if you check your JIT status, you see now everything, nothing to commit. The working tree is clean. Okay, so anytime you make your modification and you commit, it sees everything as is okay because I've given all my updates to JIT, but JIT is tracking. It tracked the first commit, the second commit. If, for instance, I realize that I need to undo, I can undo. I can go back to the position where it was in the first commit. We can do that. That's how JIT helps us. It's keeping track of everything. Now, if we're working on a project and all of us are contributing to the project, JIT will also keep track of who did what. If you clean, maybe delete a sentence or update a sentence, you commit, JIT will always know that this is the person that did this is the person that did that. Are we getting it? Because when we want to work on a project, or we'll host it on JIT. The same way I'm working on my computer, you'll be on your computer, you add. And that's what I want to bring in now when we are going to do this on our folder, especially where we are doing our assignment, so that when you solve your assignment, you commit it. Now, after committing, let's say this is the end of work for me today. I want to leave my computer, or anytime you wish, you can push all the modifications you've made to your repository in GitHub. And that is where you're going to use the command git push. So I go git push origin. Now, in my case, I am on the master branch, right? You can see on branch master. So git push origin master. Now, if you look at this code here in GitHub, you will see git push origin main. The reason why they put theirs as main is because they created a branch main, but we did not create that branch main. We did not put our main branch to be main. Sometimes by default, your main branch is called main. Okay? But right now, we can see from our own message that our main branch now is called what? Master. It's the same code, but instead of main, I put master. Then I hit enter. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, when you do this step, it's going to ask you to sign in. Okay? When you hit this step now, it will say sign in. It will bring up a box because you're doing it for the first time, right? Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah.
It may do that to you because you need to specify your email. Let me just type it and show you how to specify that. And this you could also do immediately you install JIT. You can do JIT config global, something like this, JIT config global user.email, and then you will put your email address, the email you used to sign in, or sign up in JIT, right? You will do this, a command like this, JIT config global user.email, then you specify your email, and then you will also do JIT config global user.name. You will put your name. Those ones you will do, right? Once you do it that way, your JIT will be set up. But even if you don't do it, when you try to push, JIT is going to start telling you that it doesn't have credentials to push, because it's on this config that you are going to configure your JIT on your computer. The global in that line of code is telling JIT that this user account should be used for the global on this computer, any repository on this computer, because you can have different repositories that you're going to use to work on JIT. Now, if you're also having challenges there, this is install JIT, and this is JIT package. You can check JIT install, I think. Wait. Let me see, JIT install. So the other part of doing this is, if you have challenge, you can just Google it and try to read about how to set up your JIT. Let me just see. Okay, this is how to install. Let me say JIT setup or configure. JIT config. So when you Google it, you would also see some things you can read. JIT config documentation. So let's go. I wouldn't want it to stress you with reading all of this. I'm just trying to look for the exact part where it talks about it.
Oh, we come again. Just come again, please. Just go back, maybe a step backwards. Thank you.
Just what I'm saying is, if you're trying to do your JIT and you have configuration problem, you can just type on Google how to configure JIT.
Okay.
Maybe JIT username and password, something like that, on your computer, GitHub. And then when you click on it, you will definitely see some write-ups. Why I'm showing you this actually is, as somebody that is doing programming, you have to be open to the fact that from time to time, you're going to research some things for yourself, right? Even though I've showed you what to do, you might be doing it and you find a challenge. It's not working as you said. The reason why it works so well for me is because I've already configured JIT on my computer. Okay? In your case, you're going to be doing the installation. And then when you get to this stage where you do push, I'm saying that it's going to ask for some configuration. But once you do the configuration, you do it once, it will be remembering it on your system. Okay? Now, also, after this JIT push command, I just digressed to talk about configuration. But let's say if you had configured it and you do JIT push origin, either main or master, depending on your branch name. When you do that, if you come to GitHub, right, this is my GitHub. If I refresh this page now, you see, what do you find? You see that on refreshing that page, it then shows me the two files that were on my computer. Can you see? Right? And if you look at this point, there are two commits that I've done. The first commit and the second one. Let me go back. So this is now my JIT repository is forming. So each time I push from my computer, it will go to the repository. So this is the kind of step and workflow I want us to be using on our computer. And once you set this up, you will later I'll ask for you to share with me this repository, right? So that I can just come to your repository and see your solution. Are we together?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
well.
Mike, Leslie,
Yeah.
this is just like when I have my Google Drive and I just send the link to you. Just something synonymous to that.
Yes, exactly. Something synonymous to your Google Drive. In your Google Drive, you put your files, right? And then you can share the link with somebody. This is something like that. But this one is more for your coding.
Okay.
Even your front end, for those of you that are doing HTML and CSS, you can also host it here. On GitHub, a lot of things are hosted here. This is where you host all your code. Then as we go along, we are going to learn more about this GitHub. I'm just introducing it today. I know some people may struggle with it, some people may get it firsthand, but I just want all of us to migrate to the point where all our assignment, all our exercises we are doing, we are storing them in GitHub. That's why I'm introducing it today. It's not part of Python. Okay? This is not part of Python. I'm just introducing this. So when you do your work, you can just tell me to have a look at your repo, and I'll come and on my own end look at it and see what you've been doing. Like in this case now, I can see what I typed in my VS Code. Are we together? I can see it. If I want, I can still share it with you and you view. So for instance, when you even join, maybe if you join a company, they'll have their project on GitHub. They'll share a link of GitHub to you and you set up your own computer and connect. Every of your work will come back to the central project. Before your work is merged into the project, they'll review it if it's up to standard. Then if it's okay, and team members have reviewed it and it's okay, then they'll merge it. That's another aspect, merge, but we'll not talk about that. But for now, the key one for us is setting up, which I want us to try to do. After setting up, you be familiar with Git status to check where you are. Just do Git status. You should also be get familiar with Git commit to put commit messages. Then you also be familiar with Git push to push it to your remote repository. These are the first three ones we'll be familiar with once we start doing it. Is it clear?
Yes.
Just for us to go and try.
Yeah. Just try. In case you get stuck too, I was also trying to chip in that when you get stuck, sometimes you can Google, try to say, how can I configure? How can I do this? It's also a habit you need to learn because from time to time, you face challenges and in future, you're not going to have anybody to ask. When you're in class like this, you can always ask your teacher, please, what's this? What's that? But in the real life scenario now, when you're working, you may not have anybody to ask. And it's also better you research before you ask your colleagues too, even though you have colleagues. You don't just ask them, please, what's this? You go to Google, ask Google, what is this? Read up. When you just type the question, some links will come out. You try to see if you can follow the link and solve it. Once you can follow the link and solve the problem, you're advancing. You're becoming what they call being able to work independently, right? It's very important to work independently to an extent, especially when you now begin to engage with foreigners. Are we getting it? So I'm just trying to chip it in. So we have that mindset too that sometimes, even if you're trying to set up this JIT, everything I taught you, if you Google it, you can also find out things, links that you can read about and still do it. So for now, we'll stop the JIT at this point, and then we'll go back to Python. So let's just try to do it. Create your GitHub account and then create your repository, link it to your Visual Studio Code or PyCharm. Even if you're using your PyCharm, you have your terminal there. You do the same thing, it's the same code. Link it, your files will be coming here. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so now we'll switch back to our journey. That one now is just a tool we are just trying to introduce. As we go along, it will become clearer. It might be doing somehow that was digital, but you enjoy it by the time we get to maybe chapter 3 if you're using it. So if you start using it now, you've done chapter 1, you do chapter 2. Then by the time you do chapter 3, you now see how you've been doing some commits and you'll be happy. Then I'll show you how you watch your there's what we call the heat map in GitHub. It shows your activities. Then you will now see that GitHub is going to record your journey into programming for you, which tomorrow when you face a recruiter, you can share your GitHub with them and they will now see that, oh, this guy has been doing things, so look at it too. And all your projects, key projects that you build, because as we are learning to, at a point, we'll start developing some projects, you host them there. You can show people that see what I've done. That's how tech guys show what they've done. It's on GitHub, right? That's how you share it with people. People see, okay, this is how you did your code. And once they see it, they'll be able to judge the quality of your work. Okay, so back to the exercises. I think majority of us have done most of them. See, by the time you do them, you have understanding. So before we continue, I don't know if anybody has any burning question here related to the exercises.
That number 9. I don't know if I really got it, but I did it. But I would love for it to be touched again.
Any other person, apart from is only number 9, was problematic.
I also reported exercise 2.
This number 2. Okay, so we'll just look at those 2 and then go forward. So I'll go back to my VS Code. I just did this one for practice. Not one I'm working. This is my own for working. So if you notice too, I've added this particular folder I'm using to do this lesson now. It's also hosted on JIT, right? If I finish, I'll be storing all the rough work there. And of course, I'm also working with JIT. Okay. So day 3, I'm going to put the question. So a lot of cell phones have tip calculators. Write one, ask the user for the price of the meal and the percent tip they want to have. Then print both the tip amount and the total bill with the tip included. So what this question is asking is, you're in a restaurant and then maybe you ate food of, say, 1,000 naira. In America, for instance, when you go to a restaurant, it's almost a tradition you would leave a tip. In Nigeria, we don't do tips. So maybe if you ate food of 10,000 naira, a tip is that money you just drop for the waiter or waitress that is going to pack your food or that served you, that took your order and brought the food. So in America, typically they always drop some money for that person, right? In fact, if you go there and you don't drop the money, it will be like you did something wrong because it's a norm. They just do it. Even the waiter is expecting you to drop a tip. So this one, I tell you to do a calculator that you know the total amount of the food. And then you can say, I want to give 5% tip. Then you calculate the total, your food amount plus your tip. Okay? That's also what it's asking us to do. So it's asking the user for the price of the food and then the tip. Now I can say a variable food price be equal to, if you check the book, it said it will tell you to take numeric numbers with the eval, okay, and then input, and then you put the message for the input, enter the meal amount. So this line of code now is just to collect the total amount of the food and store it as a variable which I name food price. Okay. And then another variable I'm defining is tip. Tip also, the question say we should ask the user for the tip. Right? Ask the user for the price of the meal and the percent tip they want to leave. So you can then do a second one. enter tip. And the percentage tip. So it's not just the tip. So this time around, we're not just saying if you want to give the person 1,000, enter 1,000, but they are saying how much percent, because you may want to say I'll give you 5% tip, percent of the total. Okay, so if your meal is 1,000 naira, 10,000 naira, 5% should be how much is that? 500 naira, right?
Mm.
And then the total will be 10,500 because you're giving a tip of 5%. So now the user now supply the total amount, and then the user now also supply to us how much percent is in percentage tip is going to do. Then you just do a calculation. You say, then print both the tip and the total bill with the tip included. So you bring your print statement. No, wait, I need something. The print body tip. The tip was tip and the total bill is total. I put total here because I don't want to solve it inside the print. Excuse me. I don't want to solve it inside the print, so I solve it. The total now be food price plus the food price times so if the person puts 10%, so the person is going to put 10. So tip divided by 100. Okay. So what is trying to do now? If your food price is 10,000, I will now add 10,000 times the percentage. So if the percentage is 5%, so that's 5 over 100 times 10,000, right? And that would have given us 500. So 500 plus 10,000, the total would then be 10,500. So I'm now saying in my print statement to print that the tip was, I put it as a first string, comma, and then put the tip. And the total bill is, I put total. It's one way to do it. There are many ways to solve any problem. I save it and then we go to the terminal to run it. So Python day3.py. So he asking me now, enter the meal amount. I say 10,000. Enter the tip you want to leave in percentage. I say I want to pay 5% tip. So I say 5 and enter. So you now see the tip was 5 and the total bill is this. So 5, someone might say, I want to say 5%. I can still come here and say percent was 5% and the total bill you get. So you arrange it the way you want to present it and put in your variables. I don't know if it's clear.
Yes.
Yeah, this is clear. I think it's a bit clearer. It's getting clearer for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my approach was a little different, I guess.
Of course,
Okay.
that's why I say there are many ways to provide. The key thing is provided your code collects the input from the user, as the question say, and then the next part is it prints out a statement. You can word the statement anyhow you feel appropriate, but you should give it back in a form like some other person might. Another way to do this, a kind of like better ways to use what they call the F statement. And this is how the F statement work. You put an F before your quotation mark. In the F statement, you will then put your statement. Just watch how I'm going to do this one. So the tip was, I'll put this kind of bracket, curly bracket. All right, percent. Or let me just put the percent symbol. And the total is, let me say Naira. Then I'll put it like this. So you see this one now, just
Hi, Elby.
yeah.
Elby, one minute. Ndubuisi's hand is up, so maybe I think there's something he's missing out.
Okay then. So do you see this one? You use the F string, is a format string. Okay, I think we'll see this down the chapter, how to do this formatting. So you just put it, and where you want to put a variable, you put it in a bracket like this. The first print statement, I was using comma to put different items. But this one, you just put everything in one string. Where you want to put in a value, you just put a curly bracket and put that value. If you run it, it's still the same thing. %. See. So that's that. Then someone said Ndubuisi's hand is raised.
Yes, sorry. On that line where eval was used, if float was used in place of it, just maybe the customer's bill has a fractional part. I don't know. Is eval more appropriate to use in this instance, or to use a direct float or something?
Okay, good question. So the eval can handle both float and integer, right? So what eval does, it resolves this input. For instance, anything you collect through input is going to be a string, right? Anything you collect through input is a string. So even if you put 10,000 Naira like I was putting, when it comes into the code through input, it comes as a string. So now, to make it a numeric character, because of course the string now, if you look at the string, it's going to be like this. Maybe I put 10,000. Can you see there's 10,000 here, but it's a string because it's in quotation. In this form, you can't perform any calculation with it because the Python is going to treat it as a string. What eval does, when you wrap it in eval like this, when you wrap this 10,000, for instance, in eval will then, maybe if I say x is equal to this, eval will convert this string to 10,000 and then store it in x. When it's converting the string, is because it's numeric. If the string contains things like words, which means if somebody come and type, let's run the program again, for instance, instead of putting the meal amount and I say 5, maybe I put it in word, 5,000. I supply word into the input. You see, it's an error because eval cannot handle words, string as words. But once the string is numeric, that means it's figures, just figures. It can resolve it and change it from string to integer. Now, if you entered 10,000.23, you enter the float. Eval will resolve it to a float. Are you getting?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
It's
so
clear.
that's what eval does. But if somebody wants to be very strict in his code, you can then use float. When you use float, the same place where we have eval, any number you give it, it will convert it to float. So even if you enter 10, it will end up being 10.0 in the code because you're strictly dealing with floats. If you use integer, then any number you enter will just automatically be an integer. I hope that's clear. So that's it. Then quickly, because our time is going, we just look at number 2. Okay, we should print this box, but this is the box we print. So there are many ways to do it. Someone could have just done like this. Maybe this is the simplest way. And I put it in quotation mark, and I do, it's 19 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. I print that one. I copy to the next line. I then come and do space. Delete everything. And put space. So at least, if you do not know how to do anything, this one very easy, right? You put it like this. Only using your print statement. Do you get? Let me change every other thing to comment so that it don't disturb my code and save it and run. See, it's printed. Okay. Now, where somebody might want to use a set argument, we'll get to that now. Just similarly with what we did last week, someone can also do print and do this. Wrong place. Star times 19 because it's 19. And you do it about 4 times. Then in this one now, you do star. You're going to print the first star, and then the next is space, comma. Then you do space. Space times. Let's think together. There's something I want to bring out here. If there are 19 characters, if there are 19 characters here, and I'm going to print 2 stars, how many characters will the space be?
17.
17, great. So I put 17.
Yeah, 17.
Yeah, great. So I need to put 17. Okay, that's good. And we save it. Then we run the file. Something funny is happening. Okay, I put 17 and I didn't put the last star. Okay, that's my fault. Then I put another star, right? After the multiplication by 17, I need to put another star, okay? Then I save it and then run. So when you put 17, it comes out like this. And somebody will begin to say, you calculated it. Oh, 19 minus 2 is 17. Why is this not